If everything was perfect, I would not be here. I am the reflection of a broken system. President Woodrow Wilson said that every hyphenated citizen has a dagger aimed at the belly of the country. And by hyphenated citizen, he meant white American, black American, Mexican American, African American. If you're not just an American, then you're not on the same team. You're on a team within a team, trying to get stuff for your own group, and you're fighting inside what's supposed to be a team. And the world won't work that way. That means this becomes the Tower of Babel. When someone responds to sincere honesty with suspicion and contempt, you know you're over the target. No one objects to an absurd lie. No one is threatened by the flat earthers. No one's threatened by Bigfoot. But you say an uncomfortable truth and watch how people freak out. And that's how I know that I'm right. Hey guys, this is John in Los Angeles with the Alpha Channel update for Monday, May 20th, 2024. So I'm going to jump right to showing a little bit of art. I learned a horrible lesson about rendering today. This was actually decent line art for about 2 hours before I destroyed it with a bad title and bad shading. So this taught me a very crucial lesson about taking my time, because this was close to good. And I learned a few things about shading. I learned a few things about setting something in a space. Some hard lessons with that one. It might get lightboxed. That's a couple days worth of work that is not ruined, but it's not in great shape. So let's see what else we've got here. This is a little blue line, another cover. I know you can barely see it. It's gonna have to get lightboxed too. But today is just about art, just about showing off some art. So here's this is from my first screenplay called Revolution IO, and that is a robot named Ra 7982. And when the massive AI supercomputer Monadnock goes offline, a lot of robots their brains melt, but his Ra, he becomes self-aware and a little bit of a, oh look, there's two there. He becomes self-aware and kind of a, he starts wandering on adventures like Caine in Kung Fu. So I've got, here's Clune. He looks a lot like Ra, doesn't he? He's from that period of art in my life. Here's Dulcet, a demon attacking a fairy. Dulcet was a fire demon, and he is basically like a troll over a bridge sort of story, and he's trying to steal from the fairies who go out and gather stuff from the gardens on the other side of the mountain, and he demands payment from them. Here's a drawing by a friend of mine from animation school named Gabriel Casillas. He was a gifted artist. I don't know what he's doing or what's going on with Gabe. We haven't talked in years, but I have a lot of stuff. I'm looking for something specific, so forgive me for digging through these. I think I found some of it. Here's an Ashley shot. It's not terrible. From way back. I do have a list of things I want to talk about today, rebellion and tyranny, and I really want to stay away from expressing hatred or frustration with the social circumstances in our current situation, because I don't feel like it's productive. I feel like it's more destructive than productive. I think that what I can do with my comic book is better than what they can do with politics. Yesterday I'd said that I can't say their names. It's not because I don't know them. I certainly know their names. I just don't want to say their names. When you say someone's name, you invite them in. And I don't want to bring these people into my life. Oh, this is a cool Ashley drawing. Check this one out. This one is definitely getting redone. I'm glad I stuck around to push through this, because this is my Ashley Fox homage to Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. And it will have to get... I'm going to put this one to the side here, because that one's going to have to get reversioned. Here's one. You know, I should probably start doing this little thing with a pair of glasses on because it would be a lot easier for me and probably for you too. Probably better in the long run. So what do I want to talk about in regards to our social circumstances? Oh, here's another one by Gabe. He's just like the most joyful artist. All his characters look happy and they're smiling. I could learn something from that. I draw too many characters who are not smiling. I kind of just want to scroll through these. Here's one before she had to fight someone in a pit fight. Here is Ashley is a futuristic soldier with a staff, like an electric staff. Ashley again in like fight gear. Here's a dodgeball picture. This is just character study. This is me just laying out the character and getting used to her. These are all the things you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to draw a picture until it's done and all the, the frame is filled up, but it's not always how it works out. It's not always how it works out. But yeah, this is fun. This is so much fun. I'm getting better again. Like I have noticed that, and I will pull out. I'm going to stand up for a second and go grab some a very lightly inked pencil drawing that where I can see like my hand is coming back. My strokes are getting smoother. Even on this really bad Kimber, I was able to lay down some really good lines. You can't see them, but they're there. They're there under that. So here's a good Ash. Here's one where her eyes are too far apart, like the features aren't right. Okay, let me grab this other drawing really quick. All right, so this is only really lightly inked, and I haven't destroyed it yet, but I promise you, as soon as I try and start to render it, I will wreck what little good there is here. And I think her eyes may be a little wonky or watery or something, but I can work out the hair. Her lips, her mouth's a little awkward, but this one there's kind of no expression. So yeah, today was a good lesson about the rendering with the gunshot. Today's been a good lesson about a lot of things, about friendships, about relationships, about communicating with people. As I mentioned the other day, I had a situation where a good friend told me that he doesn't mind working with me, that he's happy to be my friend. I just can't ever acknowledge him to anyone. And that stings, that hurts. When someone you care about says, I'm happy to be your friend, just don't ever tell anybody. What do you say to that? All right, guys. So the reason I'm here, the reason I'm doing this, if everything was perfect, I would not be here. I am the reflection of a broken system. If everything was awesome, you would not need me. I am like the Black Mirror episode, I think it was called 15 Million, about the guy who watched a beautiful girl be turned into a whore. And that's what I've seen done to my civilization. My civilization has been pimped out by... There's no other way to say this. They own all the porn companies. They own all the banks. They own all the propaganda media. They're the biggest sinners in the world. Vice is part of their moral skill set. For Christians, it's not like that. Christians ruled the world for a couple thousand years, and things were at least good for Christians. I'm not going to argue that they were good for anybody else, but I don't care. I don't care. The way things are now is unsustainable. The way things are now is terrible for everyone. So give me one moment. I'm going to grab this. This is going to help me see all my notes. Oh, this is so much easier. Okay, so who gets everything they want? The people who own the banks. The people who are representatives of a foreign power. Representatives of a foreign state. They're dual citizens. President Woodrow Wilson said that every hyphenated citizen has a dagger aimed at the belly of the country. And by hyphenated citizen, he meant white American, black American, Mexican American, African American. If you're not just an American, then you're not on the same team. You're on a team within a team, trying to get stuff for your own group, and you're fighting inside what's supposed to be a team. And the world won't work that way. That means this becomes the Tower of Babel. So, and noticing who is the ruler of this system is, they're trying to make it illegal to notice and to criticize them. So they do guilt by association and they do communal punishment, but I'm not allowed to impugn guilt by association. The biggest thing that they do, the worst thing that they do, is they promote insulting people except people of protected classes. And everyone is of a protected class except white males. All females are a protected class, so that's half the people in the world. Every other race is a protected class. Mexican American, Latin American is a protected class. You can be protected by your sexual status, so gays are a protected class. Jews are a protected class because of their ethnicity, not because of their religion. Jews are protected by their ethnicity. Jews are not protected by their religion. All of these things, blacks, everyone's protected, and you don't promote not insulting people, you promote insulting people, you just want them all to insult me. This is a game, Alan Watts talks about this game, then it was done in your university structure, where you'll send two students out of the room, and then the teacher will set the rules of the game, and the rules of the game being that when the students come back in, there'll be student A and student B. And we agree with everything student A says and disagree with everything student B says. And the game ends when either student rightly declares the rules of the game. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm declaring the rules of the game and thus ending your game. This is a game played against me and I'm calling you out. You're doing anti-white propaganda and it's all you're about. And I'm accusing you of doing anti-white propaganda. But specifically, this relates to capital flight amongst ethnic communities. Since we're not one nation anymore, all these hyphenated Americans have a dagger pointed at the heart of, or at the belly of the country. That means we're not one team. That means what's happening inside this country is ethnic capital flight. They'll tell you as much, but if I say so, this is where we play that game where if it's said by person B, you don't agree with it. If it's said by person A, you do agree with it. So the next thing I want to talk about is the subtle cut. The subtle cut was written by Larry Hama in a G.I. Joe comic book episode where Snake Eyes is practicing with his katana in whatever doubled for a danger room at the G.I. Joe headquarters. And I think it was a redhead, Scarlet and Lady J, or Scarlet and Duke came into the room and they asked what he was working on, and he'd been, slicing a dummy. And he goes, and he, of course, Snake Eyes couldn't talk, so I don't know how he expressed this to them, but this was called the subtle cut. And so he sliced, and then after a minute, it fell. And I've been experiencing that a lot from people who claim that they're my friends. The subtle cut, where they insult you in a way that you can't really call them out for in the moment because it would be rude and it would disrupt the conversation, but it's designed to hurt later and you're going to feel it later, I've been experiencing that from a lot of people lately, and this goes back to what I was talking about, not insulting people. People are clever with their insults, and this has been going on a lot longer. I mean, this has been going on as long as there's been language, right? Like, this isn't new. This was Romans had it, I'm sure every society had it. The Greeks had it. The French have it. Everyone has insults. So it's just how you respond to them and whether or not you make insults. I don't insult people. I don't insult people because of how they look. I don't make fun of people for the circumstances of their life. I don't even really make fun of people I don't make fun of people for mistakes they make. I don't take pleasure in humiliating people. You can tell jokes, you can tell self-deprecating jokes, you can tell jokes that aren't cruel, you can tell jokes that aren't mean. Every joke has a victim, but not every joke has to be designed to hurt. Some jokes can be designed to lift people up. And that's why I've never really gone after comedy, say the way Daniel Tosh or what's the other guy's name who's I watched for a long time. Comedy is a weird thing. You have to aim at a target and you don't always know when it hits. This comes back to I don't know if I've mentioned this here or just in conversations with friends, but, and this is an important thing to talk about, you really know the meaning of your message by the reply that another person gives to you. And so you really know the meaning of a joke by how the audience takes it. And Anthony Jeselnik, that's his name. Anthony Jeselnik and Daniel Tosh are really ruthless comedians. And I could be that ruthless, but that to me would feel like punching down. Even as someone who couldn't play baseball, couldn't play football, I look enough like a jock that for me to make fun of people for how they look or the circumstances of their life, like I got teased a lot as a skinny kid growing up, and I just don't want to do that to other people. It's not fun. It's not fun for them. No one has a good time. So capital flight, the subtle cut, these two things are important. And the subtle cut when it comes to insults from friends, insults that you don't see coming, that I think are done a lot of times when people feel vulnerable. I think when people, and maybe I have a tendency to cause feelings of vulnerability in people, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I remember hearing someone say, kick the big guys in the shins and pull the little guys up by, help the little guys up. And maybe people think they're doing that with me. They're getting my attention by kicking me in the shins. They think I'm a big guy or a threat to them. I try to just not notice. I try to not engage on that stuff because I don't see how it helps anyone. So when it comes to messages, though, what people don't say is as important as what they do say. You can't choose how the message that you give to someone is understood. And again, I'm coming back to the meaning of what you say is really only found in the reply. So you can't really expect to be understood. You can hope for it, but you just have to try and tailor your message over and over and over again. If you really, you know what? Here's the thing. I don't need to have a message. I'm only doing this. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I want to show off the art, because I want to find other artists, because I want to find artists who aren't afraid to call out the tyrants, to say Sic Semper Tyrannis when it relates to the Jews in our society, because they do run everything. I mean, let's admit it, dude. They own the central banks. They own Hollywood. They built Hollywood. Of course it's theirs. I'm not trying to take that away from them. But they're using it to cut other people down. They're using it to do anti-white propaganda. And they think that's a way to make the world a better place. I suppose that remains to be seen, but it's not really their place to say. It's not their society. It's not their language. There's the element of, well, they have it, so that's their right to use it. That goes for uniforms too, guys. So, I know a lot of people are afraid of you. And that's how I know I'm right. Because, so I had a conversation with one of my friends the other day who, basically told me that he's not my friend if I continue on this path. He's perfectly happy to say it's the Chinese communists who are destroying America, because that's a toothless attack. It's like saying the Pacific Islanders are the ones behind it all, or the Irish. Yeah, we're in charge of everything. Sure we are. But if you say the Jews are in charge of everything, everyone freaks the fuck out, because it's true. Because it's true. It's the only reason. So, no genocide this time, just comic books. Madagascar is an option. When someone responds to sincere honesty with suspicion and contempt, you know you're over the target. No one objects to an absurd lie. No one is threatened by the flat earthers. No one's threatened by Bigfoot. But you say an uncomfortable truth and watch how people freak out. And that's how I know that I'm right. So yeah, affirmative action was just done to displace white people from the university system. One of those universities used to say Veritas, and now it's got Hebrew on the logo. It's Harvard or Yale. I believe it's Yale, but for the longest, I think Harvard's logo is Veritas, and Yale now has a Jewish slogan. So yeah, we've been taken over. They murdered JFK. I do think this is one thing that's interesting. And this is why I think high school sports is such a fascinating part of Western civilization. I don't know that they do this in the Middle East. I don't know that this is such a big deal in Asia. I certainly don't think it's a big deal in Africa. Do they even have schools in Africa? I don't think they have after-school sports programs and scholarships as a way to get into university. So we've been disenfranchised from that also. And a big part of high school sports, though, was to prepare young men for working in the trades. You know, everything about sports is, you know, you don't sit on your ass on the field, you take a knee. And it was such great training for me because I worked in the trades for quite a long time, like probably about 8 years between the Marine Corps and animation school. And, you know, off and on in different times, mostly as an electrician, probably 3 to 4 or 5 years as an electrician back in Illinois and here in California. And you don't sit on your ass while you're putting an outlet in the wall. You know, some guys did, but those guys were pieces of shit, and they got no respect. The guys who were always late to the job site got no respect. But that's, you know, things have changed. Civilization is different now. In some parts, in some companies, you get more of what you tolerate. So honesty in business is a novel concept in today's world. Because honesty is not natural to someone. Honesty is not natural to someone who feels like they are in a hostile environment. Like, I can sympathize with Jewish people being only 2% of the population in a place like America, feeling, you know, Christmas, I can only imagine how terrible that feels to be excluded from the society. But it's also a choice. You know, you're choosing to exclude yourselves, and you're choosing to do that. That's not something we put on you. That's something you're putting on yourself because you think it gives you an imagined advantage. And I suppose in some way it does. If you don't care about having friends, if you'd rather have money than friends, yeah, I suppose if that's what you want. This comes back to you having no morals and not believing in sin, and believing that it's perfectly okay to defraud someone if they're a racial and ethnic enemy. And Christians don't believe that's okay. Jews believe that's okay. Jews believe it's not only okay, they believe it's laudable. And that's the society we live in today. And I'm not afraid to say it. And I'm waiting for you guys I'm waiting for the knock on my door for the YouTube channel to be shut down. I've started uploading to Rumble. I've had 2 friends, actually not just one, 2 friends. And I lost all my friends in 2017, 2016, 2015, when all this started, and I started reading things like the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, and the Iron Mountain Report, and the Mouse Utopia experiment. You guys, you should check out I'll link to the video here about the Mouse Utopia experiment here on YouTube. It's a fascinating thing, and we're experiencing a lot of that right now. So, before we go, though, I do like to show you guys something that's not just my art. And I don't want to be all negative about this culture war that we're stuck in. I really want to talk about this. You know why I can't talk about blacks and Mexicans in a negative way? Because I respect them. I love Ryan Benjamin. Oh my God, his art is so great. I love watching him do draw streams. He's showing me. I love Gary Vaynerchuk. So I love Jack Kirby. I love Stanley Lieber. So I don't, you know, I'm not racist on an individual level. Like I said before, Patrice O'Neal and Cat Williams are some of the most important modern prophets of the modern age. I learned so much about self-respect from Patrice O'Neal. Patrice O'Neal is the guy who said, if you're in a relationship and it makes you feel like shit, get out of it. A relationship's not supposed to be work. That's telling you you're not supposed to be there. And if someone is convincing you that you're supposed to feel like shit while they walk all over you, you're being exploited, whether you're a man or a woman. I've only been on one side of that equation. I've never done that to another human being. And I want to show this. So this is one of the things. It was really hard for me to move out to California. Like I said before, I'm from a big family, but I had to leave there to come here to do what I'm doing, to do this right now. I am building a studio. I am going to find guys who think the way I do, and we will be a strong group. And part of what's so awesome about being out here in Los Angeles is that there's so much animation stuff out here. There's really just tons of it that it just comes once you're into this and people know that you're into this. It just comes to you. I'm going to take this one out of the plastic. This is the Lone Ranger and Tonto. This is, I believe it's a printed storyboard. This might actually be markered. This might be, I believe this is printed. Look at how fantastic that is from the old cartoon. I think that was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. I've got a few of these here. These I got a hold of these at the same time I got a hold of that Filmation He-Man stuff. Oh, there's multiple. Oh no, it's just one in a backing drawing. Backing. Oh, backing plate. Here we go. There's two here. Look at this. It's Dorothy and the Yellow Brick Road. Dorothy and Toto. I've got some more. These are just fantastic. I'm really glad I'm going to take the time to show these to you guys. Like I said, I don't like doing all this negative stuff, but I do need to show that I'm not afraid to say it. It's really important that I'm not afraid to say this. The only person it's important to is me. I'm not going to go into a bunch of personal details about my personal life and people that I know and people that I might be offending. I'm not doing this to offend any individual. You all know that everything I've said is true and comes from a place of sincerity and honesty. I'm not doing anything to be cruel or mean or exploitative. I'm calling out the fact that you guys have been doing that to me. I listened to The Kid Who Stays in the Picture by Robert Evans. And here's Fat Albert. Hey, hey, hey. I love these characters. I love the crew. I want to go back and watch this show again because I loved how all the characters were so unique. Kind of like that old cartoon Top Cat with all the cats. But anyhow, I listened to the audiobook by Robert Evans, The Kid Stays in the Picture, unabridged audiobook. He recorded it himself, which I totally respect. Lone Ranger and Tonto again. And he talked about how his great realization, his great moment of clarity, was when he discovered that the way to make movies was to find struggling authors with a good book and buy it for pennies on the dollar. He exploited an author for $5,000 and got his first film made and bought the book and went and made a bunch of money with it. And there was no thought about the author. His whole approach, the way he explained everything was he was a genius for exploiting this guy, and this guy was a sucker for not having been in a better position to protect his work. And I was filled with nothing but contempt at that moment for this way of thinking. And that's not the way, that's no way to do things. That's no way to live life. It's just a terrible, it makes you into a terrible person. And so yeah, I've got a bunch more of these, but I think I'm going to stop there for now, just so I have some more for next time. And I know I'm continuing with the negative talk while I'm showing amazing art, but this is what's so amazing about living out here, is that I have access to all this. And it's all there. Neil Adams had a store right here in Burbank. You know? So I'm really happy. Despite all of this, I'm super happy. I'm like, the way I could be happier would be to find people who think like I do and aren't afraid to say so. And who, you know what, even if you are afraid to say so, just you know what, you don't have to do anything. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and maybe someday, somewhere around the line, along the way, we'll bump into each other. Honestly, I'm doing this more for you guys. I want you to watch and see what happens to me. I'm going to put these up every day. I'm going to be here every day. That's my commitment to you. And just for you guys to watch and see if my art gets better, if I improve, if I'm able to launch a campaign, if I'm able to rally other people to my side, just watch. Just watch. I don't think I'm going to be able to. Right now, I think I'm going to be alone for a long time. But this is worth doing. So, love you guys. Talk to you next time.